All right, in this video, we're going to take a look at practice problem number 4 from the chapter 3 on functions. This problem says write a program that prompts the user to enter their name. The program should then call a function and pass the value that the user entered to the function. The function should display the message hi name, where name is replaced by the name that the user entered. Also, the name of the user should be right justified so that the name ends in the 70th column of the display. So, and then it says use the len function and the string repetition operator times, or asterisk, whatever you want to call it, to accomplish the right justification of the user's name. Here are some examples of the runs of the program. Okay, so let's start on the input part first. So let's create a variable called name and then use the input function, enter your name with that prompt. Okay, and then this name is going to get passed to a function. The program should then call a function. So we're going to make a function here. And that function is going to print some kind of message. So we'll call it print message. And then have, at the very least, in the function header, right, it's going to be the keyword def, then the name. I'm just calling mine print message, followed by, at the very least, an open and close parenthesis and a colon. And then we're going to have to think about what does this function need? What information does it need in order to be able to do its job? Well, this is supposed to print this message right here. So hi followed by some number of spaces and then the name that the user entered. So at the very least, this thing is going to need the name that the user entered. So we're going to go ahead and put name as a parameter up here, right? And again, it's fine to use the same name of the parameter as it is here. In fact, you can call it a different name, but it's perfectly fine to do that. And that also, right, gets rid of the issue about that you shouldn't have functions manipulating, changing, or accessing global variables like name here, okay? So it creates a local variable, and I do have a local variable and a global variable with the same name, but remember inside the function where that local variable is declared, it'll default to the local variable, not the global one. So, okay, and so what we need to do is to print something out, and let's just start with hi name. Like this. All right, and let's just run it. Oops, I forgot to call it again. So I need to call the method. How do you call them? Or sorry, not method, but function. If you hear me say method, it's because I teach some other classes where that's what they're called. So sometimes switching back and forth, I use the wrong terminology. So I want to call this function, and so I call its name, I write its name, followed by at least one open and closed parenthesis, and then for every parameter in its parameter list, right here, there's only one. Then I need to give it a piece of information, and so in this case, I'm going to put a name. That's the information that needs to get passed along, the name that the user entered. Okay, all right, and so that's a good chunk of what we need to do. Right, but what we'll need to do is to get this in the 70th column, okay? So we can do that by adding a bunch of spaces in there, okay? And so let's say that in order to do that, so here you can see, right, that Bill and Jamaluddin, they both end right on the same column over here. So we need to put a lot of spaces in between. So just putting a lot of spaces in between is not too hard, right? Because we can take a space in here, and actually we don't need to do that, right? Actually, yeah, we do. So we can take a single space and then times it by the a number. So if we want 70 spaces in there, we can do that. So when you have a number times a string, right, that times really is no longer multiplication of numbers, but it's the string concatenation, self concatenation operator. It'll put that many copies of the string together into this. Oh, and I need to change that to double quotes in here. All right, so let's see if that'll go. Looks all right. All right, so you can see that it has put a lot of spaces over here, and I guess I can't figure out what column I'm in here. So I guess there's a way to do it. You can see that's the column up here, but that's way too far out. It's way past the 70th column there. So we want this name right justified in the 70th column. So right about here, right? If you line that up, that's where we want it printed at. So we're adding too many spaces in here. So here we've got an H, an I, and a space. That's 3 characters, plus Tom is 3 characters long, so that's 6. So if we add 64 spaces in here, that should right justify the name Tom in the 70th column. So we can check that out. And so the 70th column would be right here. That looks like that might be one too many, so we could go 63 here. All right, so that looks like it's about right. Maybe, I don't know. I wish I could put it down here and see. So what we'll need to do here, right, when we do that, is to adjust this. If the name is going to be something else other than Tom, like Jamaluddin or Freddie, right, then that's going to extend farther than I want to outside of the past the 70th column. So I can't just put a number here that's going to work for every possible name. What I'm going to have to do is to put a number in there, right? And that number is going to have to be 70 minus the length of the string, length of the name. So it's going to depend on how long that name is, minus 3. Okay. So that's how I'm going to need to adjust this. So there's a way to do that, right? And the way to get the length of a string is to use the len function. So if I do len name, that's going to give me the length of whatever name comes in here. And then what I can do is adjust the number of spaces. So minus length minus 3. So I set up this variable spaces, and so I want everything, this total message, right, to be on the 70th column and at this right justified in the 70th column. So I'll take 70 minus the length minus 3, right? And the 3 there is for this H, the I, and the spaces here. and then subtract off the length of the name, right? And that's how many spaces that I will need to use. So I just create another variable here, and I calculate how many spaces I'm going to need, and then use that as the variable. So that will adjust to the length of the name. So if I run this with Tom, or whatever what was this Bill in the test case, right? We can see where that ends, even though it's hard to see. So that ends right about here. So I don't know if that's correct or not. It says 72, which we probably need to back it off a little bit, but just it doesn't really matter. We just want it right justified here. So if we do Jamaluddin, I don't know how to spell that. I-D-I-N-E. That should end at the same place up here. If I click back, oh no. It was 72, right, is where it ended. It looked like it ended. So right about here, 72 is right there. So roughly speaking, kind of looks like it's lined up there. I don't know. But close enough, right, for this one. So there we go. That's that's it on this one.